All right, that was awesome. Never started my show off like that. But welcome to another episode of Rub a Dub. I'll be your host. My name's Rob. I basically give you my commentary on what's going on in this crazy world that we live in. But most of the time, I get down to what's trending, what's going on, and what kind of news is not making the press. I give you all the news that's fit for do it. That's right. A very beautiful song to introduce this show. At Last and Tell Mama Blues singer Etta James, which the last song is obviously called At Last, whose health has been fading in recent years, is now terminally ill. Dr. Ellen James, absolutely no relation to the 73 entertainer, I should say, tells the Riverside Press Enterprise that the singer's chronic leukemia and declared incurable just 2 weeks ago. The doctor has cared for Etta James at the singer's Riverside, California home since March of last year. Now, James says she's spreading the word for the singer's ailments so people can pray for her. Also known for you younger people, Tebowing for her. And she says fans know Etta James has been sick, but they didn't know just how sick. Records of the singer's probate case show she also suffers from dementia, never a good thing, and kidney failure. And countless soundtracks, numerous movies, and probably a few silly television shows should try and say your love to her, because I just found out there's actually a movie about her called Cadillac Records, starring Beyonce. Hubba Hubba. And Adrian Brody, who won an Oscar for The Pianist. Those two basically tell the tale of Etta James, obviously Beyonce playing Etta. And Beyonce played this song just over 3 years ago at the inaugural dance for Mr. Barack Obama, considering that, she doesn't have very long to live. And life is short, so enjoy it. And please, if you do need to say some things to Etta James about how her song touched your life, please send your prayers, send your thoughts. I would love for Etta James to hear just what she meant to so many people. Story number 2. Very, very interesting Chinese, I wouldn't say protester, but he basically is an activist. And most importantly, this activist's name is Chen Guangcheng. I hope I didn't mispronounce this. For all you people that don't know him, just like I didn't until Mr. Christian Bale had to stick his nose in China. Civil rights activist of the People's Republic of China. Now, People's Republic of China is one of the very, very few non-communist aspects of China, who drew international attention to human rights issues in rural areas. He was placed under house arrest from September 2005 to March 2006 after talking to the Time magazine about the forced abortion cases he investigated in Linyi Prefecture, Shandong Province. Authorities formally arrested him in June 2006 for destruction of property and assembling a crowd of disruptive traffic. During his trial, Chen's lawyers were forbidden access to the court, leaving him without a proper defender. On August 24, 2006, Chen was sentenced to 4 years and 3 months for damaging property and organizing a mob. 4 years. Yes, I live in Canada. That's a long time for that kind of crime. In Canada, you get like a slap on the wrist. Chen was released from prison on September 8, 2010, after serving his full sentence, but remains under soft detention. Don't ask me why China is imposing this. I really start thinking this is where the story starts getting remarkably sinister. Dun, dun, dun. Chen and his wife were reportedly beaten shortly after a human rights group released a video of their home under the intense police surveillance on February of this year. In 2005, Chen exposed harshest illegal measures by local authorities when enforcing a one-child policy, the stupidest policy China's ever going to enforce. And they've enforced a lot of policies. Where families planning officials from Lenni municipal authorities in Shandong forced thousands of people to undergo sterilization or to abort pregnancies. Chinese nationals' regulation prohibit such brutal measures. The officials were also accused of detaining and torturing relatives of people who had escaped from the forced measures. So people are trying to get out of this measure that the government is imposing. Chen is a huge activist because he's filed like class action lawsuits on the women's behalf against the Lenni, and I apologize if I'm mispronouncing it again, officials, and drew attention to the plight of the villagers. He also traveled to Beijing of June 2005 to seek redress. Although the suit he filed was rejected, the incident was publicized on the internet and by the Times magazine, which obviously is how got him in trouble to begin with the authorities, because he talked to Time magazine. Prompted the National Population of Family Planning Commission to launch an investigation in August 2005. A month later, the commission announced that several Lenni officials were detained. So, thanks to him, all this was made possible. And story number 3 is, but again, was China. A U.S. satellite company said it captured a photo of China's first aircraft carrier in the Yellow Sea of Chinese coast. Digital Globe Inc. said Wednesday on its satellite photographed a carrier on December 8th. The aircraft carrier has generated intense international interest because it might portend about China's intention as a global power. Now, China bought the ship from Ukraine in '98 and spent years refurbishing it. It had no engines at the time. Weaponry and navigational systems were obsolete when China acquired it. China said the carrier is intended for research and training, which has led to speculation that it plans to bid future copies of this actual name. This scares the living bejesus out of me. China is the most populated country per capita in the entire world. Now, if they get an awesome military, you know how much trouble North America, let alone America, is in, as far as if they ever get into war with them? And then you add that all together with the fact that they are allies with Russia. I'm so worried about that kind of end of the world scenario. And they got some pretty loyal citizens over there, and their society is actually very well trained and on average pretty smart. I'm not trying to sound racist whatsoever. So by far the most scariest nemesis. But why I bring the story up is because it gets so much headlines, because it's trying to make North America. Why isn't it talking about some 17-year-old Chinese girl that was able to find a cure to help break down tumors and slowing down cancer? I'm not saying it's a cure for cancer, but I know for a fact trying to make China into a possible nemesis. The Chinese actually announced that they were sending out the trial run, that they admitted, yes, we're actually launching a carrier. So they're very top secret, and that's what gets me, because anyone that's like super silent, kind of like stealthy, doesn't really cause a lot of waves, especially in the sports scenes. So no offense to you, Yao Ming, but I am very concerned of the potential danger that China causes, but I'm also very present on the potential cures that China does bring to the table. And I will find out that 17-year-old's name on another awesome episode. But until then, let's just say you've been doing it with the best and keep on rocking in the free world. Well, it's still free.